Okay, this is Virtual Newsmakers, and we are coming back for a fall full of information about digital media and communications. And today we've actually taken a bit of a hiatus over the summer. Debbie Ellickson has been writing books, and I've been traveling and doing various projects as well. My name is Cynthia Seymour, and I come to you today from Miami, and I am going. And hi, Debbie. Debbie is coming from Edmonton. Go ahead.
Hi. Welcome, Karen.
And we have Karen Woolard here. She is with FIU, and I'm going to introduce her briefly and let her go ahead and tell you a little bit more about what she does. And then we're going to come in and talk more about the state of education and where we're starting to see things going. We're taking a look at learning management systems and various technologies that are enabling educators to break new ground in education, both in the classroom as well as online. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce Karen Woolard, and she's coming to us from FIU. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Do people know who FIU is? Florida International University. We have 68,000 students enrolled. I work with the hospitality school, actually at the Institute for Hospitality and Tourism Education and Research, and that's exactly what we do. We do education and research specifically for restaurants, hotels, tourism organizations. We are working together currently to do a very state-of-the-art e-learning program. I'm officially the instructional designer, and Cynthia is acting as our production manager. And we are attempting to break new ground on e-learning. Most of e-learning, from my experience, is pretty boring, to say the least.
Yeah.
A lot of it is voice over PowerPoint. The voice is usually disembodied from the content, so it's just that lovely voice talking and, slides going on and on until you just, think there is no end to this. There is an end to this. It's just, and then eventually you're thinking root canals would be better than this, and ice pick in the eye would be better than this, or you just nap. And I think that's the worst of it. Or it's that talking heads video that has no investment. They're reading from a teleprompter, you can see their eyes moving, and you just know that all they want is to be done with it. And so Cynthia and I have undertaken a program that could be extremely dull, and we're trying to breathe health and life and make it fresh fruit instead of Stouffer's
frozen meals. Or a happy meal.
Yeah, and it's quite a challenge.
The reason I came on with Karen is she's got a real visionary approach to designing courses. And so she's given me the opportunity to take a look at a lot of different technologies and fold them into how we might design this course. And we're currently designing a course, I'm not going to go into detail about it, but that could be construed as maybe a little bit boring in its subject matter, but we're trying to take the boring out of something that could be, it's financial based, but we're trying to take the boring out by using the various technologies. So we're exploring the use of whiteboard animation, video production. We are looking at technologies that kind of take the voice-over PowerPoint to another level. And one of the things that came up for us over the past 2 weeks is we really need to find an effective learning management system. And that's also called an LMS. So, Debbie, you've taken courses online. I'm going to shift from like the student point of view. What has been your experience with that?
Well, it's been all over the map, really, and it actually depends on the course. I've taken quite a few from Coursera. Some I finished, some I've gotten certificates with, and some I haven't been able to finish because life got in the way. But one of the things about the online course that works for me is that I don't have to be married to a set time. And as Cynthia will tell you, that my schedule is all over the map. I never know what one day to the next is going to bring in my schedule. So to be able to sit in a classroom, and I find that very difficult. So, but with regards to some of the courses that I've taken, some of them have been they've been very good for educational purposes, but some of them have been more invested in the assignments and the quizzes and getting the marks on the peer reviews rather than the actual content. And there was one that was the most fascinating course, but oh my God, it was so intense. It was like cramming 2 semesters into one, one little 8-week course. So it was very intensive, and there was so much information. There was no way I was even going to remember 5% of it for any of the quizzes. So, but I did watch all the videos, and for me, watching the videos and learning from video seemed to sink into my brain a little more than just having to read the material. Although reading material and reading the slides kind of help reinforce it, but overall, I think most of, myself in particular, I used to be a hardened. I'm looking for a book. I don't have very many books anymore. They're all in a Kindle. But I used to be such a very strong component of hard and fast books, but now I've gotten in the habit of getting most of my learning through video. At least it seems to sink in better, because I think we're more visual. And if it's visual, if you can interact a little bit with it visually, then it seems to sink in a little more. Because I'm not the best student.
Okay, so what you're saying is that as a student taking a course, it's funny that you're a publisher and talking about this shift from the book to video.
Yeah.
I'm working on 3 books right now too.
Yeah, it's interesting that
She's not into text, right?
Yeah.
I'm writing every day. I've been writing just before we came on this show.
Right. What happens with video, though, is you get that audio, and there's a layer of text that's part of it, as well as the visual side of things. So when you start layering these different ways of us retaining information, that's what we're really trying to take a look at. Some of it is text-based, some of it's images, some of it's video, some of it's quiz-based, and that's called assessment. So it's been very interesting. One of the things that's come up for us is, now that we've got the content, or now that we're building the content, what do we put it on? So it has been quite the rabbit hole.
Right, we didn't know. we discovered that there are 800 current vendors in the learning management system.
Oh my Lord!
Space, yeah. And none of them have more than 4%
of the market share. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's all over the board. We put together a wish list, and I mean, some of them can't do 20% of what's on our wish list, and some of them can do 40 or 60. Wow. Some of them don't even understand pieces of what's on our wish list, and it's just a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
And
on top of it, we're looking for something that provides that e-commerce, because we want to sell the courses. We're looking for something that is easy for the teachers to load up their content and provides interactive content that's kind of edgy. Mm-hmm. We're looking for a system that makes it easy for us to market this. So we're looking for like the Valhalla of.
This is actually kind of exciting, though, because you almost are in a position where, okay, let's find somebody to build a brand new platform, and maybe that's the one everybody has to go to do something similar.
Yeah, and then it's almost like each one of them has one or two, but not all.
Yeah, yeah.
And we really didn't set out to be trailblazers. That wasn't the intention. Certainly on the learning management system piece, we wanted to blaze some trails in making the content engaging, visually appealing, the videos fun, adding a little humor, using some Web 2.0 applications, that sort of thing, to be creative on. It never occurred to us that the technology wasn't there to support us. There's so much out there that it really hadn't occurred to me that it was just a hodgepodge, and not. I thought there was a whole industry that knew what it was doing, and it turns out we're like probably
none of it.
We're in the Walkman category. That's all I could think. We've got cassettes happening here, and we know how fast it's going to move to some kind of standard, but it never occurred to me that we were the bleeding edge of that process.
Right.
And so that's added a whole layer of.
It kind of reminds me of the publishing industry too, because Cynthia and I had this discussion with Tony Dyson and Chantel Harvey about this, because we as publishers have this same kind of creative vision where we want all this stuff, but there isn't a platform out there that can do it. Like you say, there's some that do some, and some that do others. You almost have to almost enlist a gaming developer to bring forth a new platform.
Yeah, and the gaming people haven't partnered up with the learning management system people.
Right.
And I think that's because industry has been driving the learning management development, because online learning looks cheaper. Getting people all together in a classroom is a very expensive way to train. Right. And so, being able to put it online and pretend that they're going to learn the same thing, more, better, faster by sitting at their desk doing it alone, it seems to be what's driven the existence of the system so far. And unfortunately, it's not learner-centered. It's not reader, there's just so much to, even to your Coursera courses. Yes, there was a lot of work. Yes, there was a lot of information, but were you engaged?
Yeah, exactly.
Watch videos, but how fun, really.
Yeah, some were more fun than others, and the ones that were the most fun are the ones that I actually got the certificates in.
Oh, wow. So they were the ones that motivated you to complete it.
Well, and there were a few others that I was motivated to complete, and I worked my buns off, and one of them was, ironically, online learning course, and I flunked it, and I thought, what the I thought I did it, like usually when you do all the assignments and I guess my measuring stick must have been off the map or something, but anyway.
You know what it is, Debbie? There is a lot that this is why I'm kind of partnering with Karen. There is so much structure and there's methods to how you build out an educational program and how you design a course that is it's an education in and of itself.
Right.
So unless you have that background, having a publishing background is not enough, and I think that's a mistake a lot of people make when they start building out these Coursera classes or these Udemy classes, is that they don't understand how much background knowledge in course design they need before they can develop an effective course. So,
even just simple things like designing a good multiple choice question isn't simple.
Yeah, she handed me 38 pages on this, and I'm 38 pages.
38 pages on how to design effective multiple choice questions, and I mean there's true science to a lot of this. Multiple choice is not a sit down and jot down a couple of things and and then put in a silly answer and you're done. I mean, there's really a strategy, a whole series of strategies that you don't just start by making up multiple choice questions.
Right.
As convenient as it might be, and so you can easily fail a course because the test is faulty.
Yeah.
And whose fault is that?
Right.
Literally, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
And a lot of times these courses are being developed by people who know nothing about how to develop a course.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of it's kind of like a film student from NYU might be more effective at telling a story that makes sense on YouTube. You can put up a little YouTube video from your iPhone or from your smartphone, but that doesn't mean necessarily it's a good video, because maybe it doesn't quite tell the same kind of story that a film, somebody who understands the elements of making a film. So we're kind of in the same space where what happens when you let all these people who don't know how to design courses start designing courses, and then is that kind of democracy of content really a good thing? So
yeah.
And I was sharing with Cynthia yesterday that in 1985 there was an article in the Miami Herald that talked about the future of online education, and in 1985 the future was CD interactive. And they were talking about how you could get 500 megabytes on a CD, and how this was going to revolutionize education. And they were talking about testing becoming so much less time consuming because the questions would be categorized. So you would start with the easy questions, and as soon as you answered 3 easy questions, you would get 3 harder questions, and then 3 harder questions until you were unable to continue, and then you would get your grade. So instead of having a 100-question test, you might only have to take 20 questions to prove that you had in fact mastered the material. Or you might get 12 questions, and they could say you have not mastered the material, go back and study these things. And it would happen very quickly. That software is out there. The problem is that people can't design multiple choice questions, much less design them at 5 levels so that you can do that.
That sounds like a course.
Yeah, that will probably bring about a new dimension to course design and development. Interestingly enough, just that availability of that technology.
That skill set is out there. In fact, teachers have to take 2 semester-long courses on assessment, and most elementary, middle school and high school teachers are capable of doing that work, and yet we give them curriculum and we give them test banks as if their own knowledge is not enough. And we've a little bit taken the judgment out of the hands of the teachers, and to a point where they're not willing to step up and take it back. And that's going to stop us from being able to move forward with, there are knowledgeable people out there, but they never get to practice that art or practice that science. And I'm fairly sure that there are very few people in the adult learning world who have any idea that all of that technology exists, that all of that skill, that's even a skill set.
And then she sent me a link the other day with 343 or whatever it was, different tools and technologies for teachers in terms of education technology. They're building out all kinds of features, but nobody's really wrapping it into a toolbox type package so there's a hammer out there and a saw out there and a this out there and a that out there, but there's no like Home Depot or even architects that know how to put all this information together. So we're really, really on the cutting edge, I think, of you know, what's happening in this world. If I had my dream team, it would be a content production team matched with a course instructional designer, and a team of developers with game designers that could take the content and develop out fun games and ways to achieve the learning objectives we're trying to create here.
Yeah.
So.
That is a dream team.
And yet, whoever gets there can own the space.
Yeah. Because right now it's a bunch of little wagons all heading to the west as fast as they can. And some of them have 2 wheels, and some of them have 1 wheel, and some of them have 3 wheels, but very few of them have 4 wheels. And there's no tracks and there's no train. There's no front runner at all in this field.
Whoever gets there first can sell the platform to everybody else.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. If we're moving toward the Wild West, they're going to get to the goal the fastest. They're going to be able to stake out their territory, you know, like build out, you know, where they're going and what they're doing. They have a vision. They don't know how they're getting there. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. And eventually the platform's going to go away, and I think what's missing is a process.
Yeah.
In instructional design, the process has always been ADDIE, which is analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Perfectly good. Nobody has time for that anymore. It was, you know, there was 100 pages to each one of those pieces, you know, and now we do it with Post-it notes in an hour. And how that process happens for e-learning is really, I think, the future. It's who can create the ADDIE model for e-learning, and it's going to have the content piece, it's going to have the presentation piece, it's going to have the gamification engagement piece, and then it's going to have a platform. But the platform is fungible, really. That eventually it's not going to matter where you put it, if all of the other, and then of course assessment.
Yeah.
And that whole idea of being able to come around and use assessment to help the learner learn better. What don't I know that I need to go back and work on? A lot of pre-testing, a lot of challenging yourself with both activities and exams. And assessment is done in multiple choice questions because it's easy for the teacher. It's not at all about the learner. Right. And I really see the future of assessment being a very different animal when we finally start looking at what's good for the learner and not what's easy for the teacher.
So is it possible for the learner to learn the material but be crappy at exams?
Yes, absolutely. They're not related.
So they can flunk the course, but they can still know the material.
Yes, absolutely. That's the teacher's fault. I'm absolutely convinced that students fail courses all the time because of bad tests.
That's such an interesting concept.
Faulty instructional design, not faulty learning ability.
And yet the student feels like they've, they're the ones that...
They're not the ones that are failing.
Huh.
And in fact, they probably should request a copy of the exam be reviewed by someone who has a background in assessment to ensure that, in fact, the test was valid and actually tested what it purported to test. And there's a process for that. There's a way that you do that. Standardized testing companies are great at that, at actually ensuring that the test is both reliable and valid. But again, it's expensive, and they keep those secrets close to their chest. But for the most part, nobody's paying attention. So I would go back to Coursera and request that exam and have them send it to me, and I'll I'll give you the legal opportunity to go back and prove to them that it was not the fault of the learner.
Right, right. Well, it's just my course's experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, but see, these are the directions, I think. I'm going to kind of sum up with a couple of things. Karen, what kinds of trends do you see evolving, or what kind of possibilities do you see that would evolve this space forward in terms of online designs, this shift in education that's happening?
I think competent people need to be putting out great product.
Okay.
And I hope that part of what we're doing here, that as people see what can happen in the space, they'll start to see that what is happening in the space is just, we need to let go of the old media and start embracing the new media and the new opportunities and the new ways that we can play in this space.
Okay. All right. So we end each show with a challenge of the week. And the challenge of the week is something that the first thing that comes to you, and it could be anything. And that's what's fun about this show, is we never know what that's going to be. If you could challenge people today to do something to learn more or be more in their lives, how would you do that? What would you challenge people to do this week? And just think of whatever comes up for you.
Read a book.
Read a book. Okay.
On whatever platform there is.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, we were talking the other day about how few people read books once they come out of college. So.
But they're still reading, I think, because even if you're a gamer, you're reading, and it's just on a different platform and a different level. So, but yeah, I think when it's not reading a book, maybe I don't know whether some of them are thinking they're not reading a physical book, or whether it's just, it's when you're reading, even if you're reading Sports Illustrated, you're still reading.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. Read a book. I think I agree that if you read a book, whether particularly fiction, if you're used to writing, I'd even take that further. If you are used to reading nonfiction all the time or writing nonfiction, read and try and write fiction, and vice versa. Just to stretch your boundaries. Read something that you wouldn't normally read, just to stretch your boundaries.
We have a question actually late in the game coming in from Jean Gabler from Germany, and he's asking about practical skills and learning practical skills. What are your thoughts on that? How do you teach and learn practical skills online?
I'm a very big believer that you can't learn to swim by watching videos or PowerPoint presentations. You have to get wet to learn to swim. And that applies to practical skills across the board. You can learn about something, but good education has to require an application opportunity. And in the online space, that's usually a demonstration followed by some kind of an activity that the individual has to do for themselves. You can watch all the videos you want, but you will never be Mark Spitz or any other. You will not float until you get
in the water,
out of the boat and into the water.
Right.
So practical skills have to be learned with practice, and that can't be simulated online. That the individual learner has to take some responsibility for that application.
It's interesting that you say that, because one of the things that we're trying to build out in this course are activities that enable people to get out into the field and practice what we're teaching them. Mm-hmm. So we're actually building activities specific to that purpose, to achieving those practical skills.
And therein lies the difference between those Coursera courses and some of those other online courses and what you guys are doing.
And what we're teaching also has a paper and pencil component, so we can do simulations and activities that actually allow people to get the experience of doing the work within the program. So it's not quite as physical an activity where you actually need to practice the physical component. There is a mental component, and a paper and pencil way to practice that. So we're a little luckier in that area. We're not teaching swimming. Acting, or,
you could. You're close to the water.
All righty. Well, let's sum up this show. The challenge of the week is to read a book about something that you enjoy or a passion or want to learn more about in your life. And this is Virtual Newsmakers. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Virtual Newsmakers. And thank you so much, Karen, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
that
you.
was great.
It's been really fun.
Good.
And enlightening. New things to think about.
All right. Can you
Great
say?
to you.
For all of us, and including the stuff that you shared on your course development.
Great. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks.
Stay warm.
I
I can't believe it's snowing already.
You want to sign us out?
I got to stop.